I recently did a survey of people who know me to describe me in a few words or less. Now, the two words that kept coming up used together were extremely tactical, usually written in all capital letters, so you know it's serious. So it's good that flashlight manufacturer Klarus also realized this and sent me their new tactical flashlight called the XT11S to review. And if you're a tactical expert like I am, you should expect the XT11S to include all known tactical cosmetics, like a tasteful, lightly crenellated bezel, for bashing in skulls, of course, Type 3 hard stealth anodization, but except you bring the stealth. It's also made from 6061 aircraft grade aluminum, probably stealth 2, with a smooth reflector and a Cree XPL high V3 cool wide emitter, which gives this light a bit of throw. Oh, and a tactical glass lens. The XT11S is relatively compact too, so here it is next to a survival knife while I show you some numbers which give you basic overall length, weight, and a few other things like, I don't know, diameter or whatever. Not like button diameter though, because I ain't got time for that. The XT11S has 4 output modes that don't blink and 2 that do, so let's go over the outputs. My estimated figures in Klarus's are on screen. First is low. I like my lows a bit lower than this low. Then there's medium. Yep. Then you have high. Then there's turbo. Then of course SOS and tactical strobe. Cool, how does it operate? Okay, the XT11S gives you options. It's got a side button and a tailcap button. The light has electronic switches and mechanical ones. Actually, the mechanical switch still is an electronic switch on the back. But the light can't be locked out by a button, so it's always in standby mode. Now, if you're storing it for long periods of time, remove the battery or unscrew the tail cap slightly to cut power, so the rear of the battery tube loses contact with the tail cap. So press and hold the side switch for more than 5 seconds till you see a flicker, and that means it's electronically locked out from hitting any buttons in your tactical bag. Click the side button 3 times to unlock it quickly, and then now it's operable again. Okay, there's 3 main mode groups: classic tactical, the outdoor setting, and assault tactical for people who ask corpses the questions. I'm going to try and make this simple. So I could leave out some shortcuts and shit, but it's for your own sanity and mine too. So first, classic tactical. It's like a hybrid where you can access tactical modes from just the tail cap or use the side button for regular stuff like light when it's dark. The tail cap gives you 2 button access to strobe and turbo. Turbo button is the round one. Strobe is the rocker or mode button as they call it, so you can feel the difference in the dark very easily. Now you can do momentary turbo with a half press, or a full press. Click locks it in. Another click turns it off. Strobe has a momentary press and release. If you hold it over 2 seconds, it stays on. If you hold it less than 2 seconds and let go, then it turns off. Click once to turn it off though after it's been locked in for over 2 seconds. To operate the light from the side buttons like regular people do, make sure the light is off. If you turn the light on from the tail button, then you can't turn the light off from the side buttons. I know it's a weird technicality. So turn the light on from the side button with a quick click. Then quick presses go from high to low, and not like usual the other way around. Then it loops back around from high all the way to low. Alright, press and hold to turn it off. It has mode memory, so it remembers the last mode it was on when you turned it off. You have shortcut to low by pressing and holding for over a second from the side button. You can access both strobes from the side switch too, I know, right? When off or on by double clicking at any time. One double click gets you to tactical strobe. A second double click goes into SOS. Okay, so there are actually 2 other UI groups, remember from before, outdoor and assault tactical. You can program the light to use those, which control how the buttons are used, tailcap buttons and the side buttons. Outdoor setting gives you more options from controlling modes from the tailcap rocker switch, known as the mode switch. You remember the one that did strobes earlier? But then you have tactical assault setting, which is probably the one that's the most specialized, which is maybe why you'd buy this light. It kills operation of the side switch entirely, and it makes it a tactical strobe and a turbo mode flashlight only. The mode switch gives you momentary strobe for short presses, or it stays on when you press it for more than 2 seconds. Remember, like before, turbo also gives you momentary turbo for half presses, and a full press turns it on full turbo. The tailcap buttons operate exactly like they did in classic tactical setting. Remember, the only difference is the side button doesn't operate and it can't change into lower modes. Anyway, I'm not going to go over the outdoor setting, but imagine the rear rocker mode switch doesn't have strobe functions. I know, a perfect world, but changes modes and gives you access to low mode from momentary. But hey, there's still strobe because you can operate those from the side switch. All right, moving on to the runtimes, which suddenly now is the least tedious section of the review. First is turbo, because that's how flashlight reviews work. The light has some thermal regulation built in, so there's some slight fluctuations of brightness over the first hour. About an hour and 20-something minutes in, you get a big drop in brightness, then the light really starts to drop down. As the light steps down to maintain battery voltage above 2.5 volts, it actually runs for more than 12 hours, but I won't show you that. The big drop in brightness occurs in the first hours. Recharge it when the button on the side turns red. Again, this is based upon a 2600 milliamp hour battery. Next is high. You get a good solid 2 hours and 50-ish minutes of mostly steady brightness before it starts its decline. I cut this test short at 7 hours because it would run at this low brightness for some time. Again, the brightness starts its decline before 3 hours. That's when you recharge it, or when the side switch turns red. And finally, the Beamshot section. First is the XT11S, which is a slightly throwy light. It's got a well-defined hotspot to help you illuminate stuff a little bit further away. I wouldn't call it a long-range thrower though, but it's definitely an upgrade from an EDC size light. Like the Klarus AR10, which is an everyday carry light with the usual amount of throw for that style light. See how the XT11S throws further? It's got that bigger hotspot. Alright, so let's take a look at the Nikkor EC4 GT, which has about twice as much throw as the XT11S. It's a bigger light with a larger reflector, but the same emitter basically as the XT11S. Then after looking at it again for a second, the XT11S of course, we're going to move on to the MH20 GT, which is a similar output and throw to the Klarus. The MH20 GT uses the same emitter, but it's a lot smaller, and it does not have the tactical tailcap stuff like the XT11S does. Then there's a reliable Sunwayman D40A, which is not as bright or throwy. It's still a nice light with a little bit of throw, except, it's not tactical. Okay, let's see what a real throwy light looks like. The AceBeam T20, which is a much longer range light. At long distances, hotspots get larger, but on these closer distances, like 120 feet, it still seems small compared to the other ones. Alright, and back to the XT11S, just in case you forgot what we were reviewing here. What else? The light is waterproof and dustproof to IPX8 standards, so feel free to use it while it's pissing buckets of rain. Okay, the gig is up. I'm not a tactical bro. This light is made for those bros. The regular flashlight buttons, along with the tailcap operation tactical controls, are a plus for people who need them. It also comes with the 2600 milliamp hour unprotected cell, like I mentioned before, but the light has built-in protection that seems to keep it drained to about 2.5 volts at its lowest until you turn it off. It will fit protected button top cells though, so use one of those if it makes you feel better about yourself. In the package you get a lanyard, a spare O-ring, a battery, a holster, a clip, and a USB charging cord because it's rechargeable via a micro USB cable. Yeah, did I forget to say that? You have to bring your own block though. I think I also forgot to say tactical ring. It does include one of those too that's removable. I found it took about 3 hours to charge the included battery from 2.7 volts to 4.2 volts. But basically the light has everything you need to get started as long as you have the charging brick. Also remember, the side switch has a charge indicator on it. It's multicolored, very much like the AR10 I reviewed, which I don't know if I showed you that or not, but it doesn't matter. When the light turns red on the switch, it's time for a charge. Alright, thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, and say hi to a complete stranger in the comments. Klarus provided this light for review.